What's up, everybody? I'm Richard,
And I'm Shawn.
and we are speaking the language of bromance. Today, I have absolutely nothing.
Well, this is the after hour special. Richard and I are recording after midnight for the first time ever, so we're gonna kind of see how this goes. I got a nice Starbucks refresher right here, so hopefully it kicks in before it's time to sign off and go to bed.
Well, I was gonna say you have the normal job. You have the normal job where you get up and you work early, and I don't have that. I don't I especially the way my schedule kind of varies, but anymore I don't go in until like 11. So being a night owl is I'm a lot easier, more accustomed to it than you.
Yeah, it has its plus and minuses. I mean, at least I know I have a set schedule. It's always 8 to 5 kind of scenario, but yeah, you're kind of limited on how late you can stay up.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you one thing that does suck about going into work late is you leave. I mean, you don't leave late. I mean, 7:30 isn't really considered late, but the thing is it eats up your day. Like
Yeah.
I worked, like today, like I worked today, and aside from getting up in the morning and making sure things were okay, and then going to work and coming home and making sure things were okay, I really didn't do much outside from working. That's I don't know. That's yeah.
Yeah, it's just the odd hours because, I mean, the only good thing I guess about working more later times is if you have those things you have to do during the day, at least you have a little bit of time to do that. But um, when you really get down to it, any kind of work really sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, but
See, now we just made ourselves sad.
yeah, it's like, oh. The only kind of news that I saw recently I thought was kind of note. I think I saw it on Yahoo. I guess they're getting ready to launch this new satellite in space. And it's supposed to be like an interplanetary, like long-reaching satellite. And they had a big like conference on it, and this is a very nerdy, geeky thing. So one of the guys that was at this panel basically said he's like NASA's going to make some form of contact with alien life within the next 20 years,
That's
and
awesome.
like it's one of those things. It's kind of like when you think of like religions and things like that. Like you can kind of think like there's got to be something out there. I mean, especially when you look at the universe that's just so vast that I mean everybody has a feeling that there has to be something out there. It's just statistically that there couldn't be.
Yeah, it was who was it? Always had the best. Leonard Nimoy always said, he's like, even if the chance of life on another planet is 1 in 1 billion, let's say it's 1 in 1 trillion. When you look up at the sky and you see the vast number of stars and know that most of those stars have a vast number of planets attached to them in their own solar systems and their own galaxies, he said it's mathematically impossible to say that we are completely alone in the universe. And to me, that I don't think people say that like, oh, it's stupid to like, search for life or see, or hope that, there's something out there. How can you not? Plus, it's also like that's what we're supposed. That's I think to me, I think that's our job as the human race is to find out what's next. We walked out of a cave, and we created fire, and we built cities, and we tamed the seas, and I mean that's what's next. That's what we're supposed to do next. Is we're supposed to go and we're supposed to find other things, and we got to have something to hope for, because I mean, if this is it, I mean, we're depressing ourselves about work.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, and I mean the planet could probably only going to hold us for so long. I mean, to keep the human race going, we're probably going to have to look out into the space for the next place for us to live.
We
I
could
think
have
that
spaceships like Firefly.
heck yeah, and then terraform some planets. Um,
Yeah.
that's something that kind of creeps me out is when you think of like Firefly and like you think of like driving someplace. Like if your car breaks down, it's like, oh, I have to call somebody or I have to walk. But like if you're in a spaceship like out in the middle of nowhere, you break down. I mean, it's just like it's one of my favorite episodes of Firefly when Serenity breaks down and Mel's the only
Oh
guy on the
yeah.
ship.
That was
Oh,
like the
it's such.
second to last episode of it, of like their
I think
penultimate.
I think so. Yeah, it was. Oh, such a great episode. You know, he's gonna
Because
die with his
because
ship,
everything,
and
yeah, because everything was just fine, and then one little thing goes wrong, and then like everything goes from completely fine to completely fucked in the span of like 20 minutes.
get
It's
people show
awesome.
and yeah, and you get space pirates that show up and it's like, hey, we got this part you need, and they're like, oh well, we're actually just gonna take your ship, because there's nobody out here that can really tell us no.
Exactly. I kind of like that though. I kind of like the thought of having nothing to rely on except yourself. I like the thought of that.
I do too. It's our culture right now is very much not, I think, able to do that though. I mean, if you look, if the grocery stores or something were out of food for a month or weeks, I mean, it'd just be total chaos. I mean, if they're out of food for a day or two, I think it'd be total chaos. We're very interdependent on everybody else.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at places like before, a big storm comes and it gets a little out of hand.
Oh
It's,
yeah,
uh,
because I mean, nobody. It's just it's not really efficient enough to do that when it's like you could spend hours upon hours, creating your own garden, raising your own livestock, or you can just pay probably less money and just go to the grocery store and pick it up.
oh, exactly. And I mean, but the question is like, have we traded something away for the illusion of convenience?
I say so. I mean it's in a very short span too. I mean, you think uh, my parents' generation maybe. I mean, they all had gardens. They all kind of raised some things, and even the generation before that, they're completely independent. I mean,
Oh
you talk
yeah.
about like not having running water, not having indoor plumbing, um, and today, I mean, most houses have at least two bathrooms.
True. This is true.
It's it's
So
it's
you
a
think we
scary
should get
thing.
back you think we should get back to a simpler time, or since we have it, we might as well utilize it?
Well, yeah, I think trying to go back now would be.
I don't know. I see. I think that there's something to be said for. I was watching this documentary on Netflix, and it was called oh shit. I think it was called Tiny House, and it
Okay.
was about this guy who um who built a house on top of a car trailer, like like a car trailer that you pull along or whatever. He
Hmm.
built a fully functional house on top of this thing, and documentary is about it's the stages of him building it. And while it's doing that, it's going on about how there's actually an entire movement about about people that are building these extremely small houses on top of car trailers, or just freestanding structures or whatever. But there's actually a growing movement of people getting back to a much simpler life, and kind of foregoing a lot of modern conveniences that they see as excesses,
Yeah.
that they don't really. Do I need 80,000 square feet when it's me and my wife and my 1.78 children? Maybe I don't. Maybe there's something in just a family unit that's lost in the grandioseness of searching for bigger and better. It's an interesting argument.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's an interesting argument. Uh, I'm sh-
I'm not entirely sure what we're leading to here.
yeah, I just try to think. You you see a lot, and it would be nice to go back to kind of a simpler time where you can kind of depend on yourself. um, and see where that would go. Like I wonder, like you talk about those people who build these freestanding things. Like how long do they stay in those? Do they stay in those? This guy with the documentaries on. I mean, he's maybe been living there for a year or two. If you look at him in 15 years, is he still going to be there, or is he going to just be kind of like, okay, well, I've done that. It
Or
was a decent experience. I'm going to go back to all the nice things that I had before.
right. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, like that's I guess that's that's the ultimate argument is bigger better, or can you kind of mishmash and kind of find a balance between you know not having a 5 bedroom home but still maintaining a decent quality of life. And I guess and I don't know. In my opinion, I think it comes down to what your definition of quality of life is. I mean, you look. I mean, I've seen things of people building homes out of like shipping containers that you see, and they just they stick a shipping container and and cut some holes out in it and do a little work, and they've got a house.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, I mean, look at people in South America or Africa. Like by those standards, I have a mansion.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So everything's relative.
yeah. When we went on our honeymoon to Cancun, we got on a bus and we went to actual Mexico, Cancun, and there's just like 10 sheds and things like that. That's where people live.
You went
That's I
for
mean
a
that's
donkey show, didn't you? You went for
yeah.
the donkey show.
I was like, oh
How
Tiffany,
was it?
let's kind of felt sorry for the donkey.
We're gonna do something since we saw Bachelor Party when we were 12. Where's Kinky Kelly?
I'm Kinky Kelly.
Who's the sexy stud?
Oh mercy. But yeah, so I'm kind of thinking about like contacting alien life. I just wonder like what the cultural shock would be of that. So, like, I think recently they said something about like on Mars they thought they found like could be fossils or something like that. Like maybe Mars had life, but I think just seeing like some kind of like unintelligent type life wouldn't be that big of a shock. But like if we reached out and we actually found like something that communicated back with us, I mean that's basically would be like our modern day Christopher Columbus, coming across the ocean and seeing these native people who can't speak your language, don't have a clue of these things that you're coming with, and then just the shock of that alone. I'd just
So
be
I
really
guess the
interested to live
question,
through that.
yeah, yeah, I guess the question would be, in the event we were contacted by life from any other planet or another galaxy or both, what, how would we, as a people, how would we respond to that? How do you like? Would it be like ideally we'd all want it to be like Star Trek, where it happens and then we're all like, hey, there's more than just us, so we should stop killing each other, and then we'll build this utopian society all for the purpose of expanding out into the universe. Like to me, I mean, I don't know if that's possible. I mean, I'd like to hope that it is. I'd like to hope that we have a Star Trek reaction to where we stop, we eventually stop, war and poverty, and and it's all gone within the span of like 50 years, and then we just send spaceships out. That'd be great.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if I don't know if we could do it.
well, it all depends on like who you contact too. I mean, if because you'd like to think that like well we'd be a peaceful race if we met people, and it's like, I mean, we're not even peaceful with each other, so is that even possible? I mean, it might start out that way, but if
Get your
they're
damn commie aliens off my planet.
yeah, I mean, you're looking at a District 9 scenario, or, I mean, you'd hope that it would become like peaceful and like, especially if like the technological advances, like let's say we
Oh
do
God,
contact
District
somebody.
9 was depressing.
Oh yeah, it was very depressing.
because you're just like, oh God, I could totally see that happening, and we're like I felt bad for myself as a human being. Like we're dickheads.
Yeah,
We do. Poor
it's
little insect guys.
just wants to go home.
Just let him go home. Oh God, the big armor suit, guns that you need 8 fingers to operate. Oh, he's got antlers going out of his back. Jeez. Oh.
Why does he want to eat cat food?
Were they
Um,
making a sequel to that movie?
I thought I heard they were. I've only seen that movie all the way through once, and about three quarters of the way, it kind of lost me. Because it was about where the guy like started turning into one of those things or something like that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I just kind of lost where I was at in the movie. And but it's, I mean, could you imagine if like so? And that's the big fear is like you contact somebody. I think it was Stephen Hawkins who said that if we did end up making contact with like alien life forms, like it'd probably basically be like when the Europeans came to America, and we'd be the Native Americans at that point.
That's true because you got to think like, okay, I mean, let's say, we're able to talk to them and they're able to talk to us. That's one thing. But if they have the technology to actually get from their point A to our point B, then I'm sure like if we had the technology to get from our point A to their point B and they couldn't, I'm sure there's a contingency of us that would be like, well, we're better than them.
Oh yeah,
Look,
yeah.
we built ships that could fucking fly over here. Let's just take their shit.
All right, we're gonna try and to convert you
Let's
to
give
our
them
style of life. It's
here. Put these blankets on.
yeah, that's worked out before.
Don't listen to those guys. These are good blankets. We totally learned our lesson.
Oh, that smallpox isn't working. Well, I saw signs. Let's douse these in some water and put it on them.
That's not water. That's gas. Kill them with fire. But yeah, I mean,
So that gets kind of back to our other argument. To get to those places, I mean, we'd have to develop some kind of either super slow. I can't remember what they call it. It's like when they put people in hyperspace, where they basically shut down their bodies. You need
oh,
something like that.
like yeah, like hibernation,
Yeah, yeah,
like the original Planet of the Apes.
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Like the
Where
old
they,
Planet of the Apes, or an Alien. I think they did an Alien too, where they just basically like they travel fast, but at the same time everybody goes into
like hypersleep.
hibernation.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that way they don't
they
you
don't
know
age.
so
Yeah, they
yeah,
age really, really
it's a long
slowly.
goddamn trip. But
But
yeah, Planet of the Apes. That's how it happened.
speaking of Planet of the Apes, I just saw the new Dawn of Planet of the Apes.
Oh, did you? How was it?
It was pretty good. Spoilers, but it very much felt like the second Hobbit movie, where it was building up to a third movie.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes sense.
So you kind of got the story, and they skipped ahead a lot further than I thought they would.
Commissioner
But
Gordon's in that movie.
yeah, he does a pretty good job. I really like him as an actor, at least in that movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So yeah, so
that's
what do you think it would be if if we were contacted by extraterrestrial life? How do you think we would react? I mean, I know how I hope we would react. I'm not exactly sure how we would actually react.
I think it depends on the contact. Like if you're thinking like Independence Day or something like that, where they come rolling in and it's just like sitting there, I think we'd be pretty suspicious of it, especially if we couldn't make contact. So I think we'd be
Yeah, yeah.
finger on the nuke ready. If they came in peacefully and tried to like make some kind of contact, like I can't remember what was the lizard people TV series. Do you remember what that was called? They just rebooted it not too long
V
ago. V,
V.
yeah. So if it was something like
I
that,
remember that show because it was on after Miami Vice, and my parents were in love with Miami Vice. It was actually one of the because I when I was a kid I used to own a record player, and it was one of the few records I actually owned was the soundtrack to Miami Vice.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll admit that. I'll admit that to people. I can feel it coming in the air tonight.
That's
Whoa,
pretty good.
Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember I haven't seen the old V, but I watched the new one because it had the Inara from Serenity, Firefly.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it seems like it was one of those TV shows where they're like, we don't know how people are going to like this, so they just put out like 4 episodes, and all 4 of the episodes were really, really good. And then it took like a 6 month break and came back, and it seemed like everybody wasn't expecting it because the acting in that next episode was just horrid. It was just
Uh,
beyond awful, and I
yeah,
didn't watch it after that.
I didn't watch the reboot.
But I mean, like,
So okay, so how did it work there?
well, so they came in kind of peacefully, and they looked like humans, and they were like, okay, we know this is your planet, blah 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 blah. We want to respect your government. We want to meet all your officials. We want to be very diplomatic with this. And so they basically just kind of like slowly infiltrated everything. They got people who, because they nobody knew they were lizard people, because they
All
had like
right, all right.
human facades on. And they just
Okay.
tried to infiltrate all the things they could. And they'd actually been at the planet, I believe, like for numerous years. So they'd been on Earth for a long time. They already had pieces in like high government official areas, and
All right. All
in
right.
people
There
in the
was
community.
infiltration.
Yeah, exactly.
I would think that would make us as a people more suspicious. Or did we know?
No, they
Like, did
didn't.
we know once they showed up, they were like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're them too."
No, yeah. So when they showed up, like nobody knew about it. There was like a small group that suspected it, and they kind of started like an underground revolution type thing. But like they just tried to stomp that as best they could. I can't remember what they were doing with the humans, if they ate them or what they did, but they had some purpose for the humans, but I can't remember what it was.
Okay. Okay.
I think it was sexual pleasure. At least that's what that actually, honestly, if we're gonna have aliens come to Earth, sexual pleasure is what I would prefer.
I don't want to sleep with lizard people, and I really don't want to sleep with the aliens from Independence Day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's tentacles going on. Like I've seen enough Japanese anime to know that that would make for a terrible scenario. Me as a human being. I've seen pictures. I could show you pictures. I'm sure I've sent you pictures.
I'm sure there's somewhere.
Look at these.
Where's that gonna go? Where's that gonna
Oh,
go? There's 6 of them.
oh, oh. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that the thing I would be curious about because with with aliens, if we prove that aliens, or when we prove, I'm going to say when because I think it's an inevitability.
Yeah.
When we prove that there is life outside of our own planet, what does that do from a religious perspective? Because I think it would disprove all monotheistic religions. It would just, to me, I think, it would throw Christianity, Islam, and Judaism out the window. But I think like
Yeah.
older religions, polytheistic religions, like the ancient gods of the Celts and the Egyptians and things like that, it would actually, I think it those I think would actually hold up because I mean older religions seem to be more warm to the idea of visitors from the sky. I mean, look at the movie. Oh fuck, Stargate. Look at Stargate.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all Egyptian gods and shit. I mean, they were not very nice.
I know I've seen a lot of theories on that. Like if you look at some of the sculptures and stuff from ancient Egypt, I mean, they kind of like, well, that's when we think of aliens, that kind of looks like that. So it's the idea that maybe they've already been here before and they just haven't been since.
So I guess the question is, can you be a Christian and believe in aliens?
I think so. I mean, it's all based on faith anyway. So I think it'd be easier to believe if they looked basically human. Like if let's say we go out and we contact like 30 different planets and they all look human, human form and everything. I think you
All
could argue
right.
then it's like, okay, well, maybe there's just multiple places, multiple paradises or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I mean, if they come back looking completely different, then I think you could have a stand to say, well, the planet they're from, evolution seems to be the idea, and because they evolved to their planet.
God didn't create tentacle people on the eighth day.
But I mean, even with that, so you say like, okay, let's say like, what happens if we see aliens or we make contact? The other thing I think is like, well, with like some theology, like some like you were talking about the old religions, like what happens if we see like Zeus, or maybe we see like the actual Christian God come down, the second coming? Like, what would that do to our society? Just something on that
Yeah,
scale,
yeah.
just
Well,
minds
I don't
exploding.
know. Yeah.
I mean, it just depends which religion it was. I mean, if you see like seven gods come down, I mean, it's like, okay, well, guess I got to pick my favorite
I
god.
think Thor would get a much bigger following.
Yeah.
They'd be like, I want to sign with that guy. You don't
This-
look like Chris Helmsworth.
Still look good though. Is this a publicity stunt? Thor comes out in 3 weeks.
I loved you in Avengers.
Goes to Marvel and like tears down the walls like, I am not a woman.
I saw that. I saw like 2 or 3 days ago. I read that story.
I read it. I haven't heard specifically how he's become a woman. Like I feel like I've read two different stories on that. I feel like I've read where they're like, it's not Thor because Thor is unworthy now. This is a woman. And I've read, well, this is Thor. It's not Thorina or Thor Hulk. It's the actual Thor. Have you heard?
Right,
Has
right.
he actually changed into a woman, or what's happened?
I don't understand the specifics of it because I skipped that story. I skipped reading that story in its entirety to skip to another story, which was Entertainment Weekly released a picture of Ultron.
Okay,
There
that's a
is a of for the new Avengers movie, Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, they actually have an image of what Ultron's gonna look like. And honestly, it looks like they pulled it almost right out of the fucking comic book. It looks awesome.
Let me take a quick
The
look at
origin
this.
story is a bit different. They did change the origin story. They changed it in a way that it makes the origin story makes sense for the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Okay,
but it is different from the comic book. In the comic book, um, the person that created Ultron was Hank Pym. Hank Pym created. Well, there's there's I think two different Ultron origin stories, but the one that most people go with is that he was created by Hank Pym, and Hank Pym was Ant-Man, who actually was a member of the Avengers,
okay.
and they're making an Ant-Man movie, and I think maybe that was the I think they were going with that line of logic that they were going to have Ant Man because they had been working on Ant Man since like 2006.
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
supposed.
know this.
Is this supposed to come out in like 16 or something like that?
Something like that. I think they're putting it up for like their phase three. But I mean, they had been working on it since 2006. Edgar Wright was on to write and direct it. He's has since backed away from the project, so they've picked up a new director. I think they're keeping most of Edgar Wright's script,
Gotcha.
but
Well, is Paul Rudd still going to be Ant Man? That's the last I heard that he was going to be the Ant Man.
they have two different. They have somebody playing Hank Pym, and then they have a somebody playing Ant Man. So I don't know if they're going to have because there's also a couple different origin stories in the comic on Ant Man. Or there were a couple different people. There was Hank Pym who originally created the suit and everything that Ant Man uses, but then there was Hank Pym that developed it, and then someone else, and I can't, the name escapes me, but he takes the suit, and then he's Ant Man. So but anyway, but I digress. The oh, in the comic, Hank Pym was the person that created Ultron. He designed this, android kind of robot, and and then something happened and Ultron became, a super big bad guy. He was the big baddie. He was actually I would say he's probably one of the Avengers main villains in my opinion. Like when you think of the Avengers big villains that they had throughout the comics, Ultron was always a really was usually at the top of the list. Now, the way they're playing it off in the cinematic universe is, and okay, I'm gonna kind of go. It's gonna be a little bit of spoilers in here, but um, if you okay at the end of Captain America 2, you have Shield, which has been completely decimated because you've seen Captain America 2, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, so into Captain America 2, Shield's been completely decimated, and there really isn't a upstanding force to help police the world, for lack of a better word. Okay, so the Avengers obviously, even though they're the Avengers and they're a great team, the Avengers obviously cannot do the work of Shield on its own.
Yeah.
There are only a few people. So in the cinematic universe, or the way Avengers 2 is going to play out, is um, Tony Stark will be the person that designs and builds Ultron.
Oh, okay. Has this been released or is this kind of
Which,
your?
yeah, no, this has been released. It's in Entertainment Weekly.
Okay.
Which, for that universe, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, one of the smartest people in the room is going to be Tony Stark. For the cinematic universe, one of the smartest people in the room is going to be Tony Stark. Tony Stark is probably the person among that group that has the brains to do something like that. And if you look at like Iron Man 3, he built 80 gajillion suits in that movie.
Yeah. Well, and then there,
And so it makes sense that that's the next step he takes.
yeah.
So he builds Ultron, and he builds these robots to help basically do the work that Shield obviously cannot do. So then Ultron in his, it's kind of the same thing happens. It's like the Terminator to me. It's like the Terminator. The machine, Skynet figures out, hey, humans bad for planet. I make planet better. Skynet all over.
It kind of has an X-Men Days of Future Past feel to it too.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, that's the overall premise of Avengers 2 is Tony Stark builds Ultron. Ultron decides humans bad. Avengers have to deal with Ultron.
So I know. So there's the new change with Thor because it's going to be a woman. Captain America is now Hawkeye, or Falcon. I'm sorry, Falcon is now Captain America. Did you hear this too?
No.
Yeah, I guess.
They're doing this for the comics?
Yeah, this is in the comics.
Okay. Okay.
Because I guess uh, Steve Rogers, right? Yeah, Steve
Right.
Rogers.
Right.
Like I guess he lost all of his powers, so he's basically like a 70 or 80 year old man now. And I don't know if this has been
Okay.
released in the comic yet, but this is out there everywhere. And so now the Falcon's taking up the shield, which everybody's up in arms about that. But it's like it's whatever. I mean, it's happened before, and it's how they sell
Oh
comics.
yeah,
So
other
whenever,
people have picked up the shield, and yeah, U.S. Agent in the old school comics. Yeah, there was another guy. His name was U.S. Agent. Had the same outfit as Captain America, but he had a different color scheme. It was like
gotcha.
gray instead of blue, and
But it seems like they do that whenever like a comic's starting to get stale. They'll say, okay, well, we're going to reboot this with a new person for a year and a half, and then we'll, somehow there'll be a new big storyline. We'll have a new number one come out and start back over. But I wonder with these like Thor and Captain America, if they're doing this more for the movies. So they're going to get these kind of in place. So you'll have, the Falcon and you have a female Thor. So then when their contracts run up, like, Downey Jr.'s contract runs up, Hemsworth contract runs up, you can put somebody new in there and you keep this movies continually going out instead of just hitting that wall of, we can't afford these people anymore, so we can't make this movie.
I mean, that kind of makes sense, but I would say that to me, the Marvel comic universe and the Marvel cinematic universe so far seem like completely different things. And I mean, and I understand, for whatever, for reasons
Hmm.
that's how it goes, but it seems like Marvel in terms of what they're putting on a screen is having not only does it have its own story structure and its own kind of universe, but it has its own continuity.
Yeah.
And I mean, however they take it's however they take it, but it seems like they're not really following the comics per se. Honestly, when it comes to the comics, I wish that they would just not like I mean like what you were saying where they change a couple things and then they reboot it and put out a new number one. I'm not a big fan of that.
Well, it's frustrating because about the time I got into comics, about 2 or 3 years ago, they started up with the New 52, and they started up with the Marvel Now came out like a year or two after that. But what sucks is, so I'm like, oh great, I can step into Batman number 1, and like when I picked it up, I'm expecting like origin story stuff. Like I'm expecting like this is a brand new Batman,
Right.
and you open
Right.
it and it's starting exactly where everything else left off. It's not an origin story. It's Batman's Batman, and they even reference things that happened in previous Batmans. So basically, all they've done is
Oh,
said it's Batman number 1, but it's basically number 7,122 in the line of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. On it, like to me, I think the way comics should evolve and maybe are evolving. I'm not sure, but I think they should get more in the habit of doing like a simple story arc of say like 5 or 6 issues and have it, and it has its overall arc, and then that's it. And then they move on to another arc. Basically, you like do like just because to me, I think it seems like the comic industry is kind of evolving into a place where it's graphic novels, to
Hmm.
where they can take 5 or 6 issues and slap them together in a graphic novel and then sell it. And I'm totally fine with that. Like to me, I mean like what you were saying about continuity and you know and I think a lot of the reasons that you have continuity problems and things like that is because I mean the book changes hands. I mean
Oh yeah.
obviously the same people can't write and draw, or and why would they want to? I mean they're artists. Why would they want to pigeonhole themselves into doing the same character for 15 years?
When you try to work your way up to the big titles, I mean, there's guys that want to do Batman, but after a while they want to switch, or maybe they're not doing a good enough job with it.
Right, right. And so I think I would like to see like an a writer and an artist and have them do their take on Batman, and they do it for 5 or 6 issues, and then they slap those together and that's a book like that. I'm totally down for that idea. I like that idea, and if they want to keep doing it, sure, let them do another arc, because I think writers kind of have like this is what I want to do with Batman. I want to do this for this long,
Hmm.
and then after that, do you want to do more, or do you want to move on to something else? And I like that idea.
Yeah, it's. I know they're because I got into the New 52 with the Batman, and they had the Night Owl or
Court
something
the
Owl.
the
Yeah, Court
Court
of
of
the Owl. Yeah,
Owls.
and that was a pretty good arc. The problem with
That
those
was our
though is that at least it was more of with the Death in a Family run. That was a couple issues after that. Is that I was just doing Batman of the Dark Knight because the Dark Knight was supposed to be a little bit darker version, and then you had Batman, which is just a
right.
Batman. But the problem
Yeah.
is you'd be reading through that, and there'd be asterisks everywhere saying, "Oh, if you want to figure out what he's talking about here, you need to go buy Catwoman number 22. If you want to know what they're talking about here, you need to get the Detectives
Well,
comics
they've
number
always,
16."
yeah. I mean, they've always done that. I mean, Marvel used to do that too, where you'd see a line of dialogue in a box or in a speech bubble or something, and it would have a little asterisk by it, and then down the bottom corner of the page, it would say see issue blah 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 of blah blah blah. I
Yeah,
mean, they've always done that, and I mean, okay, that's fine. If it helps give frame of reference or whatever. If you want to know about it, great. If you don't want to know about it, fine. But I think in this day and age, you don't really need to do that because, or I mean, I think in this day and age, it's fine if you want to list that stuff, but people aren't going to go and be like, I need that issue so I can understand what they're talking about here. They'll just go look it up on the fucking internet.
yeah. Well, I'm okay with it every now and then. But what really ticked me off, so I was reading a Batman, and in it, it was talking about Batman's son Damian. And so I'm following along. I read in one issue, and Damien was in there in a little piece. And I get to the next issue, and he's holding Damien's outfit and like saying, like, I can't lose another one, or I can't believe I lost another one. I
Uh
finished the
huh.
comic, and I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? I don't remember there being an asterisk or anything like that. So I get online, do a little Google searching, and in some
Okay.
offshoot comic, because there's like 15 titles right now that run with the Batman. And one of the
Right.
offshoot comics, Damien had been killed by some person that like I hadn't even known they were fighting. So
Okay.
at that point, I'm like, okay, I can't buy 15 Batman comics to keep up with what's going on. I mean, buying two is probably plenty. And so
Right. Right.
that's kind of when I got to the point. I'm like, whatever. Like I don't mind, especially in the arcs, like the Death of a Family or the Court of the Owls. Like it was kind of neat to say, like, hey, if you go here, here's a little thing that happened. I'll go out and pick that issue up. But when it's every
Right.
single issue, and then like a big thing like that happens, it's just like, what are you expecting from the reader?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean it's like I said, I think that's why I think it would be I think it makes more sense and I think it would probably help sell more books if you just did like small takes on Batman. Just do a simple Batman story, 5 or 6 issues, and then move on and do another Batman story. Because I mean, look at like Batman and Superman and and Lantern and Spider Man and everybody for the most part, or at least most people that are at the point where they want to go out and buy comics, they know who these people are
Yeah,
and they know their origin story. I mean, every lame or I would say most laymen's know the Batman origin story, even though if someone that's never picked up a Batman comic in their life could probably tell you Batman's origin story.
hmm
So I mean, you don't need to I don't think you need to rehash things. You can just pick up and go with it. And honestly, and like people get up in arms about things like movie reboots. I mean, like we just got done with the Chris Nolan take on Batman, and now Zack Snyder's doing Batman versus Superman, this Dawn of Justice, and people are getting kind of people are like, oh god, not another Batman. I bet they're gonna redo his origin story. Or I'm like, who cares? Like,
yeah.
let someone else fucking have their go at it. Let's see what someone else comes up with. Maybe it's cooler. Maybe it won't be cooler, but let someone else have a fucking go at it. It's Batman. Like you get the premise. Let's just see what someone else thinks he should be.
Well, it sounds like they're going to do kind of like what they did with the second Hulk movie. Is they basically showed the origin and like the opening credits, and like in this new Dawn of Justice, Batman's going to be older, so they might skim over like what happened to him, but I don't think they're going to go in as much details like the Nolan versions did or
Yeah.
the other ones. But
Yeah, I mean like I'm totally fine with it. It doesn't bother it does I don't get like I'm not one of those geeks that gets upset over seeing a leaked photo online of how Batman looks. I mean, I might poke fun at it or whatever, but I honestly don't care because let someone else have their go at it. Let's see what someone else comes up with. Because it might be better, it might not be, but the other option is we don't have Batman ever again.
yeah, the other option is they come out with something original, which will never happen.
Of course not. This is why we have three different Godzillas.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like these superheroes. They're kind of like the Walmarts of the world. It's like there's never going to probably be another Walmart. They kind of have their foot in everything, or Amazon. You're not going to
Yeah,
really
yeah.
compete against them. So it's like even you see like new superhero comics come up, and they kind of get pushed to the aside because it's like even if they're good, it's like people are going to gravitate towards what they know.
Right, right.
But one of the things too, just to harp back on this, so like I'm not really exaggerating, but there's like 15 titles right now run with Batman. There's like Batman, Batman and Robin, Batman Corporation, the Dark Knight, et cetera, et cetera. There's Catwoman. There's all of his, Nightwing, Robin, whatever. Because whenever I'm trying to read these comics, like you look at like the Dark Knight and Batman, like I'm expecting like two different kind of like universes, like the storylines don't mix. But the problem is
Yeah.
that they reference each other. So Batman comic, just the normal Batman, he'll be fighting Scarecrow, and all of a sudden he'll reference something from the Dark Knight comic where he's fighting Bane. And to me, it's like, okay, if there's 15 comics out there, you're trying to tell me that there's 15 different battles going on a daily basis against different villains. It's
Yeah, right,
it's
right.
it's like at that point you might as well just retire and say just have at it. Like my day is like way too busy. So that's one of those other things that kind of has been frustrating with that many titles.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like I haven't gotten into comics for a while. So it's been a minute. So I mean, you're actually probably more up on what currently is going on in comics just in terms of straight story and everything than I am. I mean, I collected comics like crazy, and it's kind of gone by the wayside due to, lack of money and space, but more
hmm
than anything.
I've actually like when I first started out because I mean I didn't know much about comics, so I walk in, I'm like, hey, I want to get into comics. What do I need? Like, what should I start reading? And I started out with your typical like super or not Superman, but like Batman and Captain America and things like that. And the thing that like right now, most of my stuff is like Image Comics. Like it's not any kind of really superhero. The only two superheroes I read are Hawkeye and they just rebooted the Punisher.
Okay.
And so I only read those two because they're kind of offshoots, and so they don't really reference Avengers, and they don't have like multiple copies of There's not like Punisher and then Punisher South Africa or anything like that. But where was I going with this? Oh, so like with like Captain, I lost my train of thought. With like with like Captain America and like the Batmans, whenever they go to like switch storylines, like the Hawkeye one has been like postponed for like 3 months, and I think they're going to end up
Okay.
canceling it. But you look at like those Batmans, they get like 12 or 14 issues in, like they've been building up this big crescendo of like, okay, we're fighting the Riddler, fighting the Riddler, fighting the Riddler, and then like it's like, oh, well, this is going to be this guy's last issue, and so they just wrap it up real quick. It's like Batman walks into his hideout, beats him up a little bit, and takes him away, and it's just very
Yeah.
anticlimactic. I don't know if older comics are like that or not, but today's
Kind
comics,
of, sort of. I mean, like you look. I mean, well, I mean, honestly, like look at like like the old Batman, Adam West show. And I mean, I'm not. I mean, I would probably be, strung up on a cross and burned for comparing the show to the comic, but I think it kind of shows just the mentality of how Batman's kind of evolved in the sense that, like, it was, oh, big crazy evil plot, and then at the end it just deals with him, like it's just him like picking up, said villain and throwing him at the police and saying, take him away. I
pow,
mean,
whack, smack,
yeah, yeah, and
day
I don't know.
saved.
I mean, the Riddler was always kind of like a, mousy guy, so it was, I mean, I don't know. I think it would be. I think it would look weird to see, Batman like, a human at his, complete physical peak, like pummeling the crap out of, what is essentially like a nerdy guy. I
Yeah,
think all of us would be like, Batman's a bully.
well, even like when he fights Bane and things like that, it just seems like it should be more involved, or it should be like if it's the last issue, it should have like it feels like it should just be more of a climax. Like I should just be bursting at the awesomeness, but it's just very much just like oh ho hum, I won. Next issue is going to be written by Steve instead of Joe. It's like, oh, okay, well, I
Right.
think I kind of see why it ended all of a sudden. But that's kind of why I like jumping into these like Image comics and things like that. Like Walking Dead, it's its own thing, so there's nothing competing against it. I'm reading one called Revival, which is really awesome. But it's all these, and really this kind of goes just letting like independent comics and independent people like they come up with these ideas. Like one of the ones I'm just reading, like it's called Southern Bastards. Like their email address
Okay.
is just southernbastards@gmail.com. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we have this idea. Image is going to help us get it out there. We don't even have our enough money for our own, website type thing. Just read this and tell us what you think.
Right. Right. I mean, when it comes, I mean, honestly, like, I mean, the comic industry is also kind of like expanding and doing more online issues, and I think that's gonna pave the way for bigger for these bigger companies like Marvel and DC to kind of say, okay, let's see what somebody else can do, and I think a lot more, you'll see I think you're gonna see a lot more independent titles crop up, especially online, and maybe even with some big names kind of thrown behind it, because
Like somebody getting to run like a Batman or something independently from DC, or they're at least given the rights to try it.
right, right, or at least giving independent artists and writers, and not like the big names that you kind of see, you know you'll get to see their take on what a Batman story or a Superman story, and and it might be like, this is the story that I've been dreaming about for the last 3 years, like 20 years,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, Batman should do this. And
Well, that's you've seen the fan film where Batman fights Alien and Predator, right?
I
Okay.
actually did watch it. Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, because you were talking about, I think, no, we were talking about this, about who should play the Joker
Uh huh.
in the villain. Yes, in the villain draft, we were talking
Villain
about
draft, yeah.
who we should play the, you were saying,
Alan
you
Turjo.
were saying Wash from Firefly, and um and I had someone tell me that they suggested that the guy who was in that Alien versus Predator versus Batman video, the guy they had play the Joker, they said he was a good Joker. But actually, I heard a really good suggestion on who should play the Joker, and it's been burning in my brain for the last like 2 weeks. Matt Smith, who everybody as well as you better goddamn know. This he's the fucking doctor. Well, not the
No,
current one, not the current one, but the number 11.
I didn't know the name when he said it. I had to look it up, but once I saw his face, I knew he was the Doctor. Like I haven't watched much Doctor Who. I'd probably go to say I haven't watched really any. Um, it's just something
See,
that's
it's
been off my
times like
radar. But
this I question why we're friends. These are the
well,
times.
I'm trying to think of anything that I've told you that you should have watched that you probably, like I said, you need to watch this, and you're probably like, man, this is times I question why we should be friends. No, Prince of Thieves is amazing. I
Oh
cry every
God.
time.
Anything I do, I do it for you. Go get him, Kevin Costner.
Is he supposed to be
But yeah,
British?
Doctor Who, like, if okay, like, you know what? We have a Facebook account, we have a Twitter account. Like, harangue this man. I need the internet to just pummel this person into dust for not watching Doctor Who on a regular basis and falling in love with it. You could even no, I'll even you can skip Christopher Eccleston. Like,
Okay.
I would go back and like I would go back and watch it because it's awesome. But just start at Tenant, just start at season 2 of the modernized version of Doctor Who. So yeah, see, you don't even, the show's been on for fucking 50 years. I'm saying go from like season 2 of the renewed series. You don't even have to watch the other 9 Doctors and the other, you know, 40 years of 48 years of or 42 years of, of shows. I'm just saying, you just take this little sliver, and that's all you need.
So serious question. If I want to compare this to Dancing with the Stars, like how much better is Dancing with the Stars? Like a lot? Are they pretty much about the same?
Do you hear that silence? Silence is death.
Uh,
I'm letting that comment. I'm just letting it hang there. I'm
uh,
giving I'm giving it weight, and I'm doing it deliberately to be a mean person. Oh God.
yeah, it's on my
But
list to
yes.
watch. Because I think a few years ago you told me like they're all on Netflix right now too, aren't they? Or most of
The
them.
yes, actually they just added the last season. I think there's one or two episodes that aren't on there. There's a couple. I think there's a Christmas special that isn't on there. The 50th anniversary episode is not on there, and this last Christmas special isn't on there. The last Christmas special is where Matt Smith dies and regenerates into the current Doctor, Peter Capaldi, which we will all see on our screens on August 23rd. Not that I have the date memorized,
Is that when it kicks
even
back
though I
on?
do. Yes, August 23rd. We will see Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. Also, here, see, this is cute. Peter Capaldi. If anyone wants to know who he is, you need to watch World War Z. And in World War Z, he is a doctor for the World Health Organization. Huh? He's a doctor for the WHO.
He's a Doctor Who?
Huh?
Ah,
Yes.
nice. Was that on purpose? Did he
Oh,
have the
I
part at
can
that
only
point?
hope. I have no idea. I have no idea when they offered or anything. But that's the only recent reference I can. I mean, he's huge. I guess apparently I didn't know this. Apparently he's all over uh television in England, in the UK. Like when they announced him, people in the UK were like, "Oh, of course!" Like he's a perfect choice. I mean, he's everywhere, and I'm like, and us in America are like,
Who is he?
"What? Who?
Who's this
Yeah,
guy?
who's this? Yeah, I don't. I've who? He was in. He was in what? World War Z. Oh, well, okay.
If he wasn't in Dawson's Creek, I don't know who he is. I
I don't want to
don't
wait
want to
for all no. I thought we were.
wait. If I want Tiffany to slap me, I just sing that to her.
That's
Just bust it
cute.
out every now and then. She's just like, no, stop. Like, but I don't want. I don't want to
Then you busted a
wait.
party of five.
I never saw any Party of Five.
Nev Campbell's in that show, and some other people that I that escape me. But Nev Campbell,
The
yeah,
'90s were a weird time for TV.
yeah, because you had Party of Five, you had 90210, Dawson's Creek,
Yeah,
30 something. I think that was a '90s show.
like
News Radio, and
yeah.
Roseanne.
Friends kind of
Love
was
News
that,
Radio.
but like a mature coffee
Friends
shop kind
was
of thing. Yeah,
yeah. Where apparently
Seinfeld.
like everyone in New York had apartments that were like gigantic.
Yeah. Well, it's realistic, of course. Two bedrooms, big lofts, of
Yeah.
course.
Oh, this is like 300 a month. What are you talking about?
uh, but yeah,
Shit.
so reaching alien life forms.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how you segue and bring it full circle. Doctor
Uh,
Who's an alien. There you go. I,
are
I made it.
are Sarlacc aliens?
Daleks. They're goddamn Daleks. And yes, they are. They're
uh,
aliens. They're trash cans with plungers sticking out of them. Where do you think they're from? Jersey?
maybe.
No! Damn it. All right.
Are you there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
here. We gotta go.
All
We got
right.
see this is what happens when we do a show late. This is the result.
At least I'm still awake.
True story.
All right. Well,
Quality over quantity, I suppose.
let's do some housekeeping. If you want, you can give us some feedback on Twitter. We're at Language of Bro. You can send us an email. We're at languageofbromance@gmail.com. Give us a like on Facebook. Give us any kind of comments or anything like that. Love to hear from you guys.
We would. I'll tell you what, the first anybody that wants to send a comment or a review on the show, I'll tell you what, a review of a show on iTunes, I will personally respond via email or something. But I would love to hear what anyone has to say, good or bad. You can mock me, I'll mock you. It'll be
It'd
fun.
be fun. It's the internet. It's what it's there for. Make fun of
No,
each
I'm
other.
kidding. Don't mock me, love me. Love me.
Yeah, any form. If you want to email us, we'll email you back. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, we'll tweet you back. And like on Facebook, if you say anything on Facebook, we'll holler back at you there too.
Because I am definitely a hollaback girl.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got anything else to add for tonight's show? The
Gwen Stefani is the only reason anybody knows how to spell banana.
That's true.
It's bananas! B-A-N-N-A-S!
All right. Well, I guess that's all the time we have for this Language of Bromance After Dark episode. This is Shawn.
And this is Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver.
It's a beaver! B-A-A-B-E-R!
Night,
Shit.
everybody.